And welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by the Sechler Law Firm, where great families make great estate plans. My name is Tim Sechler. I have been hosting this show for a couple of years now. If you're new to it, welcome aboard. You can find all those old episodes on Spotify or Amazon if you like to listen to podcasts. You can also find it on Apple iTunes, but. What we do on the show is we talk a lot about estate planning. We talk about how to protect yourself, your family, your money from issues like taxation, from issues like probate, from issues like loss to a nursing home. And one of the core things I believe is that if you are retired or soon to be retired and you have some stuff, you probably worked pretty hard for that stuff. And you should get to keep it. I don't think you should lose it to lawyer fees. I don't think you should lose it to taxation. I don't think you should lose it to court fees or long-term care costs. I think you should keep it. And we work really, really hard for our clients to make it so. And that's the whole idea behind this. Now, at my heart, my profession is I'm a lawyer, but in my heart, I'm an educator. I just love to teach people about this stuff because one of the thoughts that I have about all of this is that educated decisions are typically better decisions, right? Families, decision makers will make better decisions if they have more information at their fingertips. And so the reason we've done almost 200 radio shows at this point, the reason that we do workshops pretty much every single week teaching people estate planning concepts is because I want you to have the information, whether you hire my firm or not. I want you to have the information you need in order to make great decisions. We do a lot of teaching. We do a lot of teaching up to, in some instances, 4 or 5 hours of education in a classroom setting prior to even asking you if you would like to hire our law firm, because I don't want to ask you to hire our law firm if you're going to make an ill-informed decision. If we haven't spent that kind of time with you, you don't understand your options. And so we are committed to helping you make the best decision for your family, not the quick and easy decision for your family. Now, I'm going to get into some stuff here about the firm. Like I have to do on all of my radio shows, I have to do my little legal disclaimer. I have lawyers too, and they tell me I need to tell you that you should not make any legal decisions based on this or any other radio show. The information on the show is for your education, for your information, for your entertainment maybe, but should not be considered legal advice. I am a lawyer. I am not yet your lawyer, but I would love to earn your business. So if you want to check us out, you can go to SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com, or go to Estate Plan Tim. My name is Tim Sechler, so Estate Plan Tim is a little easier for you to spell, .com, and find out all about the thing. Now, I was recently at one of our Red Wagon Club events, and the fella who is one of our members was talking to me about his experience with the Red Wagon Club. He was expressing that he was happy about it. And he was also giving me some advice. I think he used to be a business owner. He said, you should talk about this a little bit more on your radio show. Your radio show is always taxes and trusts and all this stuff. He said, you should talk about the Red Wagon Club. So in honor of that suggestion, here we are talking about the Red Wagon Club this week. Now, what the heck is a Red Wagon Club? Well, I have an estate planning law firm. It is called the Sechler Law Firm. We write lots of wills and trusts. And when we teach people the concept of a trust, we typically use a little red radio flyer type wagon to describe the concept of trust. And we don't need to do that. There's probably 50 episodes I've already done talking about trust, so you can go listen to one of those. But once we work with a client, they understand how trusts work. They understand, and most of them end up having a trust. And so then they're familiar with the idea of the Red Wagon Club, and then we invite them to continue to work with our law firm moving forward as a Red Wagon Club member. And here's the basic idea. The basic idea of the Red Wagon Club. Really, I think it's two things. Estate planning, when done properly, is not a transaction. Lots of lawyers like to treat it as a transaction. Lots of lawyers like to treat their clients as though it's a transaction. What do I mean by that? It means you hire a lawyer to write a set of legal documents. The lawyer writes the legal documents. You pay the lawyer. The lawyer never calls you back. You forget the lawyer's name. You had a transaction with the law firm. You didn't have a relationship with the law firm. I've always been more of a relationship guy because the idea is this is not simple stuff. This changes. Your goals change. Your life changes. Your relationship with family and friends change. Your finance changes. The law changes. Everything changes. I mean, that's the one constant, right? And so why do we want to pretend that estate planning should be a one and done job when in the reality is for it to be done properly, it's an ongoing relationship? And so we came up with the idea of offering this educational and sort of social program for our existing clients called the Red Wagon Club. All right. And this, I said, it was born out of two ideas. So one is ongoing relationship will better serve you, keep you well informed, keep your estate plan up to date than would a transaction. That's concept number one. Concept number two really is that estate planning, when done properly, goes a lot farther than legal documents, right? The traditional estate plan, if you consider, when I ask people to tell me the first document that comes to mind when I say the words estate planning, what do you think it is? Just talk to yourself, talk to the person next to you. Look to the person next to you and say, what is it? Well, for most people, the document that comes to mind first is a will, right? The last will and testament. Now, what is the primary purpose of the last will and testament? The primary purpose is to determine who gets the stuff when you pass away. I mean, that's the main reason we do this, is to try to keep the family peace, not settle this thing with fights and draws on the street. We want the stuff to get to our people. We want to dictate who's in control. We want to decide who gets an inheritance. Fine, that's the primary purpose of a will. And who gets the stuff is, of course, an important question. But it's not the only important question. There are some other important questions, too. Like, who's in control? Like, what happens if somebody gets sick before they pass away? Where are we going to get our care? How are we going to get our care? How are we going to get the care we need without going broke? Who's making these decisions? Like, for example, how are we going to leave our stories? Not just our money, not just our valuables, but our values. How are we going to get the lifetime of stories onto the next generation? If you think about it, I want to ask you a question. Close your eyes. Not if you're driving. Keep your eyes open. But if you're not driving, close your eyes. And I want you to think, can you remember the name, even the first name, of all 8 of your great-grandparents? Do you know all 8 of your great-grandparents' names? For some people, you can't name all 4 of your grandparents' first names. But very few people, unless you're extremely interested in genealogy, can name all 8 of their great-grandparents. Now, here's the thing about that, right? Those are people who, without them, you wouldn't be here, how biology works, but they led important lives. To them, it was an important life, right? And they went through an important experience. Some of them, great-grandparents, would have been, Great Depression era, would have been World War II, World War I. These folks had experiences that were important. They had stories that would be fascinating if they could tell you the stories. But they didn't have the technology at the time to really record those stories in a format that you could get them. But now we do. And so one of the things we work with our Red Wagon Club members, for example, once we get your documents done, we run through a series of classes, right? One of which is on storytelling, memory planning. How do we get our stories to our grandkids? Because they're going to be curious. The same reason you probably just agreed that you would like to have a conversation with your great-grandparent about World War I or the Depression or whatever. Your great-great-grandkids would probably like to have that same conversation with you when they're adults, but probably not going to be around. But your stories can be. We can plan for the stories with the same energy and the same audacity that we plan for the who gets the money. We can transfer those stories too. So we have these series of classes. Another class that has become very, very popular amongst our Red Wagon Club members is the trust funding class. What do I mean by trust funding? Trust funding is the process of, once you have a trust, you have to put some stuff into the trust. Now, here's the way that this goes in a lot of law firms. It's a lot of work. Okay, so you want to change the owner of an account. You want to change beneficiaries, right? Because to have the estate plan work properly, you have to have the legal documents in place, but you also have to have some alignment with the financial concerns. We have to change ownership of an account to the trust, perhaps. Maybe we need to change beneficiary designations. Now, sometimes that means we can enlist the help of your financial advisor. Some of you don't have financial advisors. Some of you have banks that we can enlist their help. Some of you don't. Some people bank entirely online, and there's no human we can really talk to. And so this whole thing about trust funding, the funding of the trust, dirty little secret in the estate planning legal community is that trust funding can be as much work as creating the trust, if not more in some cases. And the other thing is it could get pretty expensive if clients would be billed hourly for it. So clients don't want to pay for it. So then clients say, well, I would prefer not to pay you $400 an hour to fund the trust. You know what? I'll go to the bank and I'll do it myself. And then they go to the bank, or probably they don't go to the bank and they just forget about it. It hits the back burner. Or they go to the bank, they don't know the answer to the question. It's not done correctly. And so now the trust is not funded with any assets at all, or it's funded incorrectly. And this is now the estate plan is not going to work as designed. And so when we set about trying to figure out the best workflow to serve our clients, one of the commitments that we had was we have to fund the trust. The trust has to get funded because if the trust isn't funded, we're lacking. We're operating outside of integrity. We're in a situation where people are trusting us with this, but it's not getting done correctly because one, they don't want to pay us hourly to do it, but two, they're not going to do it correctly on their own. And so we came up with a program where we wanted to teach people a better way to fund their trust. And so I came up with funding workshops. Now, the idea of a funding workshop is once you have signed your estate plan, we bring existing clients into a classroom setting, and we help you fill out the forms, and we help you send pre-prepared letters to your banks on what we need them to do. So we walk our clients through a process where we actually get the trust funded. This is a benefit of the Red Wagon Club because rather than paying us all these hourly bills, we just include it as a benefit of the Red Wagon Club. So funding the trust is a huge piece, financial alignment. Then we do the memory planning like I just talked about. Now, there's another issue here that we still haven't addressed, and most law firms don't address, is how are you going to get the care that you may need at some point in time? A lot of law firms would like to pretend that this is not a legal problem. This is, go see your health care, go see your doctor, but we live in a world where healthcare decisions, unfortunately, cannot be made in a bubble. You have to consider the healthcare options I have and how are we going to pay for it, because the government's not going to help in a lot of situations. Medicare can pay for acute care, but if we're talking about long-term care, if I need in-home caregivers or personal care home or skilled nursing facility, most of that stuff is private pay. And so now there are government programs that you can become eligible to pay for these things, but they'll take all your money first. And so a lot of the place where our law firm comes in is not just answering the question, who gets the stuff when we pass away, but also, if I do need the care, how can I make sure I've protected my stuff for my family rather than losing all of my money to Alzheimer's disease? Now, part of that process is understanding this long-term care maze. Nothing is easy. Retirees find themselves in such a confusing place. They don't know the difference between a personal care home or skilled nursing facility. They don't know the difference between, say, a in-home care versus hospice. They just don't understand this long-term care maze. And so on our staff, we have a social worker and we have an attorney who was a nurse prior to law school. And they teach a class for our Red Wagon Club members on long-term care. Here's the differences in care. Here's how you can get the care in your terms. If you're serious about staying in your home as long as possible, let's talk about a serious plan to make that happen, because it's not always easy. And so we help our clients with long-term care planning. And then finally, and one of our most popular benefits that we have, part of the Red Wagon Club, is we have a class that we teach for your adult children. Now, a lot of the time we do this as a webinar online because the kids are all over. But if we're going to name your child, your adult child, as, say, an executor or a trustee, well, we would probably teach that person what the heck that means, right? Because you could hand me Mike Tomlin's playbook. It doesn't make me a football coach. So why would we imagine that we could hand your kids some set of legal documents and have them immediately understand what these 200 pages mean? They don't know what it means, and so we teach them what it means. We teach them the fundamentals of the estate plan. And by walking through these other areas, right, so we get good legal documents. Then we fund them. Then we do memory planning. Then we help you plan for your long-term care. Then we teach your kids what it's going to take on their end at some point in time to participate in this. When they're called upon, what do you do? What do you do first, right? Now we got a plan that's going to work, right? So a lot of the Red Wagon Club is helping our clients go past the traditional concepts of having a transaction with a law firm to purchase a set of documents. Rather, what we want to do is we want to provide a set of documents, the right set of documents, and then continue to help this family answer the other important questions. Not just who gets it when I die, but how can we make sure there still is some stuff? And who's going to be the decision maker? Are they going to know what to do? And how can I transfer my memories? And how can we get the stuff into the trust properly and plan for long-term care? And then so we go through this series of classes with our clients. We offer one of these classes monthly. And then they've sort of completed the estate plan, right? But we're not done. So we continue to offer education. So last month I had a CPA talking about Roth conversions. CPA wasn't selling anything. CPA can't sell anything. He doesn't sell financial products. But we had him in here teaching our clients about Roth conversions. Next week we've got one of the lead physicians at UPMC Geriatrics to come in to talk to our clients about Alzheimer's warning signs. We've done classes on protecting your kids from their potential future divorces, right? So we continue to just educate our clients on their estate planning documents, but also the tangential things like insurance, things like tax, things like long-term care. Because I'm committed, especially for my retiree clients or the clients that are soon to be retirees, we want to be committed not only to just answering the question, who gets the stuff when retirement ends, when I pass away, but also how can we have a successful retirement? How can we have peace of mind knowing I got a plan for what goes bump in the night? How can we know that we've done this in a way that it's actually going to work, and I'm not just going to buy some set of documents and put it on the shelf for 20 years and hope for the best? That's the commitment that we have to our legal clients. And so that's the way my law firm runs. We are an education law firm that wants you to have all the information you have. So the way that it works, and if you want to learn more, we got a ton of information on our website. Go to SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com, or you can go to EstatePlanTim.com, and you will find tons of information, legal technical information, process information, how to reach out to us, how to schedule for one of our upcoming free workshops where we will teach you all of this and help you make a great decision for your family. So go to SechlerLawFirm.com, learn all about it. And see if it's a good fit for you, because a lot of people seem to think this is a pretty good idea, having a relationship with a law firm rather than a transaction with a law firm, knowing that there's a law firm that's got my back even when things change. That, to me, seems to be the way that we do it. It seems to me to be the way that we should do it, and it seems to me to be the way that's in your best interest. So check us out, SechlerLawFirm.com. Now, one more thing that I haven't mentioned about the Red Wagon Club, and this is actually the part that came as a surprise. We started doing this program, keep the documents updated, fund them, do education. And what I noticed was as we were bringing groups of our clients together for these different things, they were actually kind of having some fun. And so we started offering social events. We call them Monday Fun Days. And one Monday a month, we'd do something fun at the office. We had a wine tasting. We had bingo. We're going to have a murder mystery. We did. We had a field trip to the museum. We had a field trip to the Pirates game. So we do this stuff with our membership. And we actually, what I've found is that a lot of our clients are similarly situated. We've clients that are retired or soon to be retired, clients that have some means, would not necessarily all rich, but middle class, upper middle class folks. And by getting groups of people that are similarly situated, they have some fun together, and it's this community has been born out of it, where they come to see each other. They don't even come to see me or necessarily always the presentation at the front of the room, although I think the content is great. They're coming to see each other, and there's a sense of community amongst a whole bunch of people who are as committed as we are to the better future for their family. And it's really just a cool thing that we're seeing happen. And so we have an event center now in Warrendale, Cranberry area, where our clients get together for these education events, these social events, all the classes that we teach. And we seem to be hosting something for somebody pretty much every day at this point. And it's kind of like retirement university. It's kind of like, how to do this in a way that we stay on top of it and we continue to plan. So for the person who is a Red Wagon Club member who was recently at one of our events and said, hey, you need to talk about this more on your radio show, there you go. Talked about it on the radio show. Find out more about it. Go to sechlerlawfirm.com. It's not a requirement if you want to do an estate plan with my law firm, but boy, is it a good idea. And that's a lot of what the Red Wagon Club is all about. Now, there's a piece in there that was a little bit technical that I want to talk a little bit more about, and that is the funding of trusts. So I can't tell you how many times over my career that a client has come in and they have a trust from another law firm, from another state perhaps, but they have a trust. And then, of course, our next question is, okay, thanks. We need to review it and understand what it's doing and why you did it in the first place. But then the next question is, hey, by the way, what does it own? What did you put into the trust? You created this bucket. Did you put anything into it? And it's not every time, but I would suggest it's probably at least a third of the time there is nothing in that trust. Some law firm sold a trust, didn't do any trust funding, handed them a letter that says, here's how you go fund your trust, didn't offer them an option for hourly, just didn't fund the trust. So now they've got an empty bucket. They've got a trust that is not doing anything. And it's a shame because now we got to, maybe they thought that they started a 5-year clock, or maybe they thought they had accomplished some tax objectives, and the reality is that it's not done. So creating a trust is not the end of the story. We also have to fund the trust. But it's a bit of a pain in the neck process. If you want to do it on your own, you're probably going to get confused. If you want the law firm's help, most law firms will do this, but they're going to charge you hourly rates or some big flat fee that could equal the price of the trust to begin with. Or we came up with this different model. Okay, so I want to talk about our funding workshop. And the funding workshop is available for our Red Wagon Club members. But the funding workshop, we do an awful lot to prepare for the workshop. If we know you have a bank account that needs to go to a trust, we prepare a letter for that bank, and we provide it to you at the workshop. Dear bank, this is Joe and Wilma's trust. We need to get it into the trust. Here's all the information about the trust that you'll need to know in order to set this thing up. And so we do this preparation. And then when the clients come in, they may bring some forms from their bank. We help them fill it out. But everybody has marching orders and instructions to the bank on what to do next. So then when they go to the bank, it's not overwhelming. It's not confusing. They got the paperwork they need, and they knock it out quick. And so we started offering these funding classes because it allows us an opportunity to not have to charge our clients big billable hours for individual meetings to get this done, but we still have an opportunity to make sure that it does, in fact, get done, and that the estate plan will continue to work. So somebody's listening to this radio show right now, and they're thinking, boy, we have a trust. We did that with a lawyer some years ago. Hey, honey, what's in the trust? And a lot of families, I can tell you, don't know. They can't answer the question. They're confused about the whole thing. They don't know what's in the trust. If that's you, probably time to reach out. Probably time for you to reach out to us and ask the question, what's in my trust? And do I need to update it? Do I need to change the trust because it probably wasn't funded with anything? Did I put enough into the trust? Probably time to take a look at that. That's the thing we review with our clients very frequently, is what's in the trust. Do we want to make any changes to what's in the trust, and how can we keep the thing updated? Another common misconception, just because I have a few minutes here and have been talking about things that people don't understand about their trust. One is it doesn't own anything. The other is it's so common for clients to come in. If you have done a trust, I'm still talking to those people that have already done a trust. It's very common for people who have done a revocable living trust to think that revocable living trust did something to protect the assets from long-term care expenses. Oh, I have a trust. The nursing home can't get my money. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you can get the money, the nursing home can get the money, right? If I can get it, they can get it. And so if you have a revocable trust, that means you can revoke the trust. It means that you can get the money back next week. If you can get it, the nursing home can get it. So unfortunately, revocable living trusts don't do anything to protect assets from these issues. If you want to protect assets, we need to deal in some other types of trusts, namely a Medicaid asset protection trust, that we can use to protect your stuff from this issue, and actually make sure that we're preserving money to get to the kids if and when that time comes. So if you get a revocable living trust, you're not sure if it's funded, or you were under the misconception that this thing was protecting assets from the nursing home, you probably need to have some work done. Go to SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com, or go to Estate Plan Tim, and come to one of our workshops. We'll teach you all about it. So I hope you found the show interesting. Don't make any legal or financial decisions based on what you hear on this or any other radio show. This is for your education. If you want some legal advice, come to SechlerLawFirm.com, and we'd be happy to help you. Thanks for listening this week. We'll see you soon.